Hey guys, I'd like to share like just a little bit of my story. I've shared it on some podcasts and some other things that I've done, um, but I wanted to share like a brief, I think the moment where it all changed, and I think it forever changed in my life. When I lost my best friend when I was 21 and he was 20. Um, he had an accidental drowning in a bathtub. It was quite a traumatic experience um, that I truly don't think I've ever really processed properly. And Yeah, so he had a seizure disorder that he was dealing with, and he had stopped taking his medication, and he, uh, was acting really funny. And after work, he said he was going to take a nap, and he called him, and he woke up, and he was groggy, sounded all strange when I talked to him, which I thought was weird, but I was just like, oh, whatever. I'll see him when I get back. I got to go pick up some girls that we were going to hang out with, and I was going to meet him at his house. And I called on my way back when I was about, I don't know, 10 minutes away from his house. And his brother answered the phone, and he was like, oh, yeah, he just, went to run a bath. I'll check on him. I'll knock on the door. And I could hear him knocking on the door because the phone was near. This is in the 90s, so I think it was a cordless phone or what, I don't know. But it was, it wasn't a cell phone or anything. So, he's banging on the door, banging on the door. He's like, hey, Ron, it's Jim, he's on the phone. Hey, hello. Kept banging, banging. Then he opened the door, and then it just kind of went to chaos after that moment. He opened the door and he said, he grabbed the phone and he was like, you have to get here right now, Jim. You have to get here now. He's in the water. He's face down. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I just, I was like, what the fuck is happening? So I ran every stop sign from where I was at to his house, got out, went in the house. His whole family, the rest of his family is all upstairs, just sat, like, not knowing what's going on. His mom had just got home, maybe like 10 minutes before I got there. Um, and she'd been at work all day. So I ran down to his room. It was in the basement. There was like three rooms in the basement downstairs. And I'll never forget just walking. It's literally like seared into my mind, the image of his head being held by his mom, and I could see just his head in the doorway, and I dropped to my knees, uh, and dropped. I was holding a blue Gatorade. I dropped it, and I started crying because I looked at him. He looked purplish, and I was like, he's dead. Like in my mind, like I thought, like he's dead. And his mom's crying, and she's trying to do CPR, and his brother's trying to do CPR. So I come in and I held his head, and we tilted it to the side, and he was like coughing up blood and foam. It was coming out like this foam was just coming out of his mouth. He wasn't moving. He wasn't breathing. Paramedics arrived. They told us to go upstairs, that they would take over. And then it was just, I don't know, maybe like 45 minutes. We were upstairs. His brother was just distraught and went in the other room and just kind of like just couldn't be around anybody. Just walked away. I can't imagine what is going through his head. His mom came up and tried to be like positive and pull everybody together. His younger sister, um, asked me if everything was going to be okay, and I had to look at this. I don't know, she's maybe 9, and I had to lie to her and say that everything was going to be fine. In my head, I knew that everything was not going to be fine. That everything in that moment changed, and he was gone. And I didn't want to believe that. I didn't want to accept that. That wasn't something that I was ready to accept, but I knew in my heart that I could, when you could just feel something. I just felt it. I felt it. And, they worked on him, and then they rushed him to the hospital, and we all followed, and they kept us in this room, and then, obviously, we're all in the room together, me and all of his family, and, me and his dad are talking, and you could see the doctor walking down the hallway towards us, because it was like this room that had like it was all glass, big glass windows, and he walked up, and we were just like, everybody just burst into tears, because we were like, he's coming to tell us that he's dead. And that's what he did. He came in and he told us that, Ron had passed away, and they worked tirelessly to revive him, but they couldn't. And in that moment, everything changed for me. And honestly, I don't know if I've fully ever really processed all that information. I went in with my mom and held his hand, in this room that they had him on a table with his mom and my mom and his mom, and just cried. Just cried and cried. Like, how do you... I was 21 years old. My life hadn't even really started, and his life hadn't really started. Like, I just couldn't wrap my head around that shit. So after that is when the drinking started, because I didn't know how to talk to people. I didn't know who to talk to, and I didn't really know what to say, and I kind of just stayed quiet the whole time, because like his family was really grieving, and they were really taking it tough, because he was basically the man of that household. His mom and dad weren't together. He was just the only person in that house that was holding it together with his, for his family, and he was gone now, and there was this void, and it was very, very, we became very codependent on each other. I stayed there a lot. His mom wouldn't leave the house, so I would go do the grocery shopping. Like, I just basically like assumed the role that he played in his family for months and months after it happened. And I had moments where I like would break down and I would cry, but I just didn't really talk about it, because I didn't really know what to say to anybody, really. So yeah, it was just a really difficult time in my life, and I still like have such fucked up feelings about it all, because it's where everything went bad. After that moment, I drank severely because of the pain inside. It was the only way to escape. And then I got so far down that I couldn't get out. I didn't know how to get out. I was drowning myself and destroying myself, because I didn't feel like I deserved to be happy, or I didn't feel like I deserved to be alive. Because how could I deserve to be alive when he died so young? How did I get to do all this? He was better than me. He was a better person. Like, he had so much more to live for, and I got to live, and he died. It's really fucked up emotions to go through in your head. So, but I've done therapy and stuff like that for it all, and that's good, because it helps. But yeah, you got to process those situations, and you got to look for help and reach out, and don't bottle it up, and don't self-medicate, because it ends bad for everybody.